December 30th, 9:41 a.m. District Court Defendant Lobby number 5. Good morning, Max. Oh, yeah, good morning, sweeties. You don't seem like your usual sparkling self today. I'm always like this before I go in front of an audience. I'm working up to it. Don't get nervous, Maxie. Here, have a glass of milk. Regina! How fabulous, my sweetie pie princess. You came to watch my performance today? Of course I did. Mo told me that I should come and watch this. Mo said that. So what kind of performance will you put on today? Let me guess, you'll fly at the end. It's not that kind of show, isn't that right, my sweeties? Huh? I think my sweetie pie princess doesn't... Yeah, she doesn't seem to realize what's going on, or even where she is. Well, Max, it looks like it's time to raise the curtain. I'll see you later. Today, I'm just a member of the audience. Fabulous. Enjoy yourself out there. Good luck, Max. You're the best. I've got audio problems. No, don't start up on now audio problems. I reset the recording because of that. Gina's different, don't you think, Nick? Top of the morning to ya. Everybody, let's get stuck in legal limbo. How low can you go? Mo. Top of the morning to you, governor. Top of the morning. That's the ticket attack, and the day starts with the energy in the morning. The early bird gets the worm, but then again, worms lack higher brain function. Here, Max, brought you a present. Have some milk. Oh my, thanks. So how are you today, Wright? Well, I've got the feeling that today I'm going to face off against the real culprit. You mean Acro? Huh? You think he did? Be careful. He's used to putting his life on the line, literally. He's got guts to spare. All I gotta worry about is how thin the tightrope is. I'm already used to it. It just means that I won't be able to press him like I can other witnesses. What are you gonna do then, Whitnick? Guess I think we'll just have to do without our usual psychological warfare. Maybe rely on evidence. It's the only way we'll get past Acro and to the truth. So not much pressing. You're right, but it's gonna be tough. Anyways, I want you to make sure that Regina sees it all today. That's important. Then she'll finally have to deal with the reality of what happened to her father. Do you want us to make sure Regina watches? Yes, that's why I brought her here to court today. What's that supposed to mean? She needs to know that when people die, they don't just become stars. I may be an old-fashioned clown, but I don't believe in people becoming stars. December 30th, 10 a.m. District Court, courtroom number 2. Court is now in session for the trial of Maximilian Galactica. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. The defense is ready, Your Honor. Very well, Miss Von Kramer, you may proceed with your case. The prosecution would like to revive its previous theory of events. What's the meaning of this? We have discovered a new witness, so to say, a new eyewitness. One that saw Maximilian Galactica fly off from the scene of the crime. Order, order! I had a feeling something like this would come up. Due to this revision, we are now prepared to explain how the defendant flew that night. Explanation the prosecution will present if the need so arises. In fact, my detective stayed up all night creating a mock-up of the scene on my orders. Poor Gumshoe. Gumshoe just getting... Poor Gumshoe, this entire case. Very well, please call your witness to the stand. Time to get to work. Shall I say time to walk the courtroom tightrope. Name and occupation? Ken Dingling, but everyone calls me Acro. I'm employed as an acrobat at the Very Big Circus. Where were you the night of the crime? I was in my room that night. If you look at this map, you'll see the witness's room near the crime scene. My room is on the 3rd floor. The crime scene is below my window. The night of the crime, the witness saw something quite shocking. Would you tell us what you witnessed? Okay. It was just after 10 p.m. and I was resting in my bed. Around that time I heard a large thump noise from outside the window. Then a few moments later I saw someone flying right by my window. It was Max Galactica. I only saw him from behind, but that's who it looked like. To be honest, when I saw that, I thought I was dreaming. This witness's testimony adds up exactly with that of the clown. If that's the case, there's very little the prosecution need add. All that's left is to explain how the defendant disappeared into the sky that night. Before we get that far, I'd like to cross-examine the witness. A foolish choice by a foolish fool, which is to feel the foolish sadness of a sad fool. A man must know the proper timing for things, Mr. Phoenix, right? Just like your old friend, Mr. Miles Edgeworth did. Mr. Wright, do you have a problem with the witness's testimony? In the words of Miss Von Karma, may I quote yesterday's proceedings? There's no way that actually happened. Well, you may proceed with your cross-examination. So they warned me I can't really press much here. I'm gonna do it anyways. You said that you were resting in bed. One with us assumed that you turned the lights off in your room, correct? That's right. But there are safety lights around the outside the lodging house. It's so bright, sometimes it can make it hard to sleep. If that's the case, would it be good to close some curtains? I never really thought of that. I guess that means I'm off to buy some curtains. Sometimes I do make myself useful in its chambers. Ow! The witness will proceed with his testimony. Hold it! Your room is on the 3rd floor, right? Yes. And you said that you were resting in bed. That is correct. But you were still able to hear a sound from outside. I was indeed. Pressing Acro doesn't seem to get results. But maybe something is contradicting what you just said now. What's the matter, Mr. Wright? Nothing, Your Honor. Until I can find a clear contradiction, I should tread lightly. Are you sure it was a human being? It could have been a mannequin, or perhaps a large action figure. Well, that's setting aside the possibility of a mannequin. An action figure is plausible. You have no need to mince words with Mr. Phoenix Wright. Testify to the truth and only the truth, just as if we were there with you that night. I believe it was a human. I just struggled with his testimony. I'm gonna wait. The light in your room was turned off then, right? That's true. I was going to bed after all. So with the lights off, you were still able to clearly see a human fly by your window. The safety light lit things up enough for me to see. But honestly, there was only enough light for me to see the silhouette outside my room. It was a person's back, so I couldn't see the white roses on the front. Did you see any of the other symbols? I clearly saw the silk hat as well as the cloak wrapped around his body. I'm convinced that the person I saw was Max Galactica. There's a contradiction in this one. There's a huge contradiction with testimony that was just given. If there's a contradiction, then prove it with evidence. She's right, let's see some evidence. Take that! The hat. You claim to have seen the exact same thing Mo saw that night. Do you stand by that? What do you mean? The silk hat. What about the silk hat? I saw it on Max's head as he flew by my window. Well, you should have tried looking down out of your window that night. That would have been quite difficult considering the state that I'm in. Just looking outside the window was a tough enough challenge for me. That's a shame, because you would have noticed the silk hat found on the scene. That's the Ringmaster's hat, right? Afraid not. No matter how you look at it, this is Max's silk hat. Where are you going with this, Mr. Wright? Are you saying that Max has 2 silk hats? No, this is a handmade, one-of-a-kind model, only for Maximilian Galactica, which means, Acro, that you've been fibbing on the stand. Order! As always, it looks like someone just had to open their mouth before thinking. Are you okay, Nick? Well, I opened my big mouth, and now I have to back it up. How about it, Mr. Wright? What will cause this witness to commit perjury in this court today? Your Honor, on this occasion, the defense accuses Acro himself. On this occasion? Accuses Acro? What in the world are you accusing him of? Obviously, we accuse him of the murder of Mr. Russellberry. Mr. Wright, are you serious? Deadly serious, Your Honor. I think your trips to the circus have served you well. You seem to have learned how to try and grab at an audience's hearts and minds. Your Honor, don't allow yourself to be swayed by theatrics. Trying to wow the crowd with smoke and mirrors is the oldest bluff in the book. Really? If you don't believe me, just look at the witness. He's calm enough for it to be almost scary. Stupid bird. He's staying rather calm and collected. Mr. Tingling, do you have any response to the defense's accusation? I don't really need to say a thing, do I? What do you mean? Everyone, take a good look at me. I can't even stand up by myself, let alone leave the lodging house. That's true. I understand that Mr. Wright's just trying to help his client. But to do this by accusing me of a murder of all things. See, even a sliver of common sense makes it clear the accusation is ludicrous. She's right, way to pick on the disabled, you Arlo's cruel man. She's the poopy egg. What the? Childish insults. See that, Mr. Phoenix, right? If you're trying to drum up support from the peanut gallery, that's how you do it. I think that's enough of this little game. I got a doctor's note to confirm that Acro is unable to stand on his own power. Maybe the defense is planning on making a claim to counter this as well. I can hear the defense now. Acro had an accomplice. What do you say about this, Mr. Wright? Did Acro have an accomplice? No, he did not. Now then, this must be when we get to hear the name of the mystery accomplice. Not this time, Von Karma. What? You're not gonna sucker me into this one. What are you blabbering about, Mr. Wright? There was no accomplice. Acro Plan committed this murder all by himself. Order! What are you getting at? Way to keep them on their toes, Nick. Now I'm gonna have to prove how it all fits together. I have to show Acro murdered Russellberry. Can you do it, Nick? Can you really do that? I know what I can't do. I can't stop now. If I stop attacking, I'm doomed. Alright, then let's do it. Mr. Phoenix, Wright. If this witness is the killer, then this eyewitness account is all lies, right? Mr. Wright, I'd like you to clear something up for me. When the crime was committed, exactly where was Mr. Dingling? It's very easy. He was in his room. Take that! He was obviously here the entire time. That's Acro's room. Pretty simple. Acro wasn't able to leave the lodging house by himself. In that case, there can only be one correct answer. If Acro didn't leave his room to kill the Ringmaster. What, are you nuts? What say you, Mr. Dingling? It's an interesting theory. That's it. Considering that what you proposed is impossible, yes, that's it. Mr. Wright? Yes, Your Honor? As the witness has stated, your assertion is impossible. As he is in a wheelchair, there is no way he could go to the scene or be the killer. You got a point. It seems you've forgotten once again, Mr. Phoenix, Wright. The defendant was clearly spotted at the scene of the crime. That's true. Mo said that he saw Max, didn't he? But Maya, it's still impossible for humans to fly. Do you mind if I ask a question, Mr. Wright? What is it? I understand some of your logic. However, how do you think that I killed him? If I can't leave my room, I obviously couldn't wear Max's costume. How do you do it? That's the next course of this legal buffet. Be careful, Nick, if you mess up here. She's right, I can't mess up here. Gotta get this one some serious thought. Acro killed the Ringmaster. He did it while he was in his room, no doubt about it. I think I need to present that. I'm gonna present some evidence.
Take that!
What's that, a picture? It is indeed. The problem is with the item that's shown in the picture. The bust. It's quite a large bust, and because it is life-size, it is also very, very heavy. Heavy? Heavy enough to guarantee a certain death. Especially if it was dropped from a third-story window. See, this is how Acro was able to kill the Ringmaster. With the force of gravity and maximum intellect, because ample bust. Order. So you're saying the bust fell onto the Ringmaster? A rather simple crime. Even if you were stuck in a wheelchair, it would have been incredibly easy to commit.
Objection!
How could you possibly wheel a wheelchair with something so heavy? It's impossible.
Objection!
Well, Acro is an acrobat. He should have more than enough upper body strength to carry something like the bust. Mr. Dingling, how do you respond to these charges? Well, Acro's at a loss for words. He should be. He knows that I'm getting close to the truth. Well, Acro. You can't run away from things. Ow! I'd watch what I say if I were you, Mr. Phoenix, right? What? Your Honor, the physical health of the witness is material to this case. I demand that we get proper testimony from the witness himself. Testimony, you say? On karma. She's just using this testimony as a ruse to stall for time. There's absolutely no need for such testimony. The defense says this person is the murder. The prosecution has the right to respond. The defense's objection is overruled. Why can't he see things my way once in a while? Mr. Dingling, I'm sorry, but we need you to testify about your physical condition. If you have any doubts about your ability to testify, we can request expert testimony. The witness will have no problems. However, let's all be respectful towards him. Thank you. Yeah. Sink to any low to win a case. I suppose I could have lifted something aside of that bust. I have a strong upper body from working as an acrobat, and only my legs are injured. However, lifting the bust and looking out of the window would have been impossible. There's no way I could have exerted that kind of force on my lower body. That makes it impossible for me to know the location of the Ringmaster's head. Thus, it would have been unrealistic for me to drop the bust on him, don't you think? I have no doubts in regards to this witness's testimony. It was impossible for him to lift the bust and stick himself out far enough to look. Not to mention that he could not have known the location of the Ringmaster's head. A single false step would have led to even more severe injuries. That's what I was thinking. What's your opinion on the matter, Mr. Wright? I'd still like to proceed with my cross-examination. He's simply stalling. It's shameful, really. Yeah, can't let her get to me. Have you ever lifted up the bust before? No, I've never actually lifted up on my own two hands. But I should get to it, don't you think? I can't lend money out to me on this. Money? That crazy monkey lifted Max's bust before? Jeez, how strong is that fucking monkey? Please continue with your testimony, Mr. Dingling. So what have you been doing to keep in shape? Well, honestly, I've given up on training. I don't have any plans to return to a trapeze or the tightrope. You don't say. But no offense, I'm not worried about losing to you in a race or anything. Neither am I, Mr. Phoenix, Wright? I wouldn't lose either, Slowpoke, Nick. We'll add it to the discussion enemy all of a sudden. And why is my considered slow? I suppose you could say that I'm stronger than the average bear.
Hold it!
And why is that? Because if I were to do that, I'd have been falling out the window myself. I still haven't gotten much feeling back in my legs yet. So you couldn't have thrown that bust out the window.
Hold it!
How long do you think your recovery will take? You have to remember that my nerves were severely damaged. I'm currently undergoing some extremely intensive rehabilitation. But it's still going to take a while before I'm back to 100%. Let me remind you of another very important point. If the witness was carrying the bust, you would not be able to see out below the window.
Hold it!
Why do you say it would be impossible? Allow me to explain. You accept that if I was carrying the bust, I couldn't see out below the window. Thus, there's no way that I would know the location of the Ringmaster's head. Well, I suppose you got a point. Nick? Huh? What if you turn things around? Maybe you think of it sort of like this. If he knew the location of the Ringmaster's head, then he could drop the bust. Does make sense. Only I get proof somehow. That Acro knew the location of the Ringmaster's head without looking down. I think I've already explained things sufficiently.
Hold it!
If all you had to do was drop it, then there wouldn't have been a problem at all. If all I had to do was drop it, you're right, I could have done that. However, there is no way that I could land a direct hit on the Ringmaster's head. That kind of makes your theory a bit pointless, doesn't it, Mr. Wright? You're strong enough to lift up the bust. The main problem is how he could have aimed for the Ringmaster's head. I wonder if he used some kind of tool to aim for the Ringmaster. That's the ticket, Nick. Show them what you got. Be careful, I have to find something that fits perfectly with the case. I remember us finding any sort of tool. Maybe we overlooked something. Impossible for me to know the location.
Objection!
Throw the box. Acro, you didn't really need to lean out the window, did you? What are you driving at, Mr. Wright? You already knew ahead of time where the Ringmaster's head was going to be. When precisely on my head?
Objection!
Your silly hinting at things is pointless, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Enough stalling! How about you show us some evidence? But I did such a good job hinting! Yes, just hurry up and explain things, Mr. Wright. Maybe you should take a look at this. The key point here is the wooden box. The same wooden box that the victim was shown hunched over. The same. The question is, who placed the wooden box there? Who? When Ben Company saw the Ringmaster, they didn't see him holding the box. Which means that this wooden box was already placed at the scene of the crime. I have to admit that your theory makes a lot of sense. The moment that the bus came falling down was exactly the same moment that the Ringmaster lifted up this wooden box. Which means that the answer to all these questions is now crystal clear. You mean, if the bus were to fall on the point marked out by the wooden box, there would be no way that I could miss the head of the victim. No! Ora! This is unbelievable! Finally, so many of these ends are starting to tie themselves up. Now I just gotta keep going, and there's only one way to go from here, forward. So the next question I have is, who placed that wooden box at the scene? There's Mr. Dingling, of course. He connected it to a rope, and then all he had to do was lower it down. Ow! Allow me to whip some scent into you! Mr. Phoenix, Wright! Ow! Ringmaster's head could have been anywhere when he lifted the box. That's why the box is so specially made. Specially made? Indeed. It had the most peculiar feature. The weight. The boxes are remarkable weight. According to the quote record, it weighs 20 pounds. Just to lift up this wooden box was required. Oh, I see. One would have to squat down and lift it up with their body, wouldn't you say? That's exactly what I was trying to point out. The box is also very large. The box also has carrying handles on either side, doesn't it? That is correct. Lift up the box, you'd have to squat down. Which means that no matter who you are, you would be in approximately the same place. Fool! Does he even bother to listen to me anymore? I've heard what you've had to say. I must admit, I'm shocked at your imaginative skills. Did you do it? Did you place this wooden box in the plaza? Mr. Wright may have a vivid imagination, but can never have done what he's proposing. What? Mr. Wright, do you recall the original location of Max's bust? In the kitchen. Of course I remember. It was on top of the table in the cafeteria. Cafeteria, not kitchen. What happened to it? I'd like you to remember one important fact, Mr. Wright. I could not possibly leave the lodging house by myself. That means... You understand what I mean, don't you? I may very well have been able to drop the bust from my room. However, how would I have gotten the bust from the cafeteria to my room? You see, Mr. Phoenix Wright explained that. Don't forget, you said there was no accomplice. That's exactly how the witness would have carried the bust from the cafeteria. We definitely have a problem here. This is no place to get perplexed. I've got to get my wits about me and prove how things happen once and for all. Monkey! Money the monkey. A monkey? Everyone knows Money. He loves shiny objects of any size. Oh, like when he stole the ventriloquist's ring. So, are you saying the witness had a monkey steal the bust? Of course he didn't order the monkey to steal it. The monkey stole it on his own, and then brought it back home. Home? Money lives in Acro's room. Acro's room?
Objection!
But the bust is bronze, but the bronze isn't all that shiny.
Objection!
Maybe you should put the whip down sometimes and read the court record. Got her. My, those some very nice cards he's holding. Yes, and they are made of platinum, which is very shiny. Acro? Money is a strong monkey, right? Easy for him to bring the bust back to your room. If he wasn't able to handle that himself, I'd be on the market for a new roommate. Order! I said order! Miss Von Karma! Where's the bust in question at this moment? I don't know. We're searching for it as we speak. This is a rather strange turn of events. But let's say that the monkey had not stolen the bust. What would have happened then? On that event, something else would have been used as the murder weapon. Wait. Did he mean this bust with the murder weapon purely by accident? It's possible. Maybe Acro saw Money's mountain of stolen goods and thought to use one of them. Anyways, I think we more improve in one critical fact. Namely, that it was entirely possible that Acro was the murderer. Moron! Mr. Wright's argument was so circular, I'm still a bit dizzy. However, his argument does hold water, there's no denying that. Ow, don't seem so flamboozled, especially by the fraud of an attorney. Fraud? You've forgotten the absolute most important thing, Mr. Phoenix Wright. And what is that? You should know. You forgot that your fraud of him and that magical client was spotted at the scene of the crime. There is no reason to doubt the clown's testimony. I'm sure how you respond to that, Mr. Wright. Don't let her beat you now. I won't give my chance to turn the trial around. When the murder occurred, there were two people at the scene of the crime. One was the victim, Russell Berry, and the other was the murderer himself. Answer this and only this with the things right. Who was the murderer the clown saw?
Take that!
The bust. He saw the bust. He saw Max's I asked who was the other person most saw in the scene. But it had nothing to do with the question.
Objection!
Au contraire, mon frère. It does indeed have something to do with the question. Most said they saw Max's silhouette. But he did not actually see the man himself. It wasn't a human being he saw. How was that possible? It's simple, really. What Mo actually saw that night was Max's bust. What are you talking about? Have you tried using your brain at all in this case? The silhouette you saw was wearing a cloak.
Objection!
There's no reason why you couldn't attach a cloak to the bust. It would be easy to hang one off the cards of the bust hands. Idiot who in her right mind would put a cloak on a bust? Doesn't matter who put it on the bust. Just wait a minute now, Mr. Wright. Who put the cloak on the bust? That question is the utmost importance in this case, don't you agree? Yeah, I ain't coffee. So let's have it, Mr. Wright. Who put the cloak on the bust? The Ringmaster.
Take that!
Fool! Him? You're saying it was the victim himself, Russell Berry? That's what I'm saying. I mean the victim himself placed the cloak on the bust. Placed the cloak isn't really the right way of putting it. Then what would be the right way of putting it, Mr. Wright? Explain yourself! Nick, do you really have a hand on all this? I'm fine, Maya. I'm finally putting all the pieces together. There's really only one picture I can paint anyway. Alright. So you want to know what really happened that night? Let's step back in time. Acro used a rope to lower the wooden box onto the seat. Then he attached that rope to the bus. And dangled the bus out of his bedroom window directly above the wooden box. At the same time, the Ringmaster told Max to wait in his room, and went to the scene. Of course, at the time the Ringmaster was wearing Max's costume. Perhaps he did not even recognize him that night. But just as he feared, he was spotted at the entrance of the lodging house by none other than a ventriloquist and his puppet, Ben and Trio. When the Ringmaster arrived at the scene, he bent over to lift the wooden box. And that's when Acro took his chance and released the rope. Now this is when the magic happens. At the very instant that the bust hit the victim, it's fucking insane that that's what happened. Jesus. And I fucking love it. Do you wait just a second there, Mr. Phoenix Wright? As much as you try, as much as you scheme, this just isn't true. It can't be. It's still a little early to be getting so upset, Miss Von Karma. This circus isn't over yet. What? The impact of the bust on the victim threw the cloak up, which snagged onto the bust. That impact also caused the sound a certain witness heard, prompting him to take a look. That witness was, of course, Lawrence Mo Curls, the clown. When Mo looked out his window, the cloak had already snagged onto the bust. Now, having completed the crime, Acro naturally went about pulling up the murder weapon. Of course, he had no idea that Mo saw the bust being raised with the cloak dangling on it. Primarily because in the future he couldn't see outside of his window. He just kept pulling the bust up. And that is how the magical murder disappearing into the sky came to be. So you see, the only person who could have pulled this off, he's the one person to be able to drop the murder weapon from above the crime scene. Acro, it could only have been you. Acro's been playing mind games with all of us. He sure has. But he has come to the end of his rope now. So, what now? You've graced us with a rather long-winded tale. But do you have any evidence to prove that your fairy tale is true? Evidence. In this court, only two things matter. The power of evidence and the power of my whip. Don't forget the power of my gavel as well. Mr. Wright, the prosecution brings up a good point. Can we see some evidence? They say they want evidence. I know there can only be one possible murder record. There's still something unusual about most eyewitness account. Unusual? A contradiction, actually. There's enough talking amongst yourselves to proceed, Mr. Wright. I prove that you have unread the magic case. Fuck. Most testimony, oh! Yeah, that makes sense. The problem with Max has three symbols. You know, the silk hat, the cloak, and the white roses. Those symbols were a problem numerous times during yesterday's proceedings. Yesterday were two contradictions in most testimony. The silk hat was one, and the white roses were the other. But the theory I just presented explains all of these contradictions. You fool, do you ever shut up? Max's silk hat was found at the scene of the crime. However, remember what Mo said yesterday. That's the fact that the criminal he saw fleeing the scene was wearing a silk hat. Only one explanation for that. The silk hat that Mo saw was actually the bus. Makes sense if you look at it that way, then he did see the silk hat. Sort of.
Objection!
Fine, you've got one, but what about the other contradiction? The other contradiction? Remember what that ventriloquist said in court? He said he saw the witness's white roses on Max's chest that night. But the clown's testimony doesn't match. The clown said there were no white roses. I'd like to see you try to explain that one away. Can you do it, Nick? Of course, I can explain all of it. What was that? Please recall the incident when the cloak snagged onto the bust. If the cloak snagged onto the bust, which happened to be the white roses, what happened to the white roses? Do you get it yet? If the cloak got snagged onto the front of the bust, it means that the white roses would end up on the back of the bust. Which explains why Mo didn't see them. The white roses were not visible because they were on the back side of the bust. Order! This is quite the shocking state of affairs. Mr. Wright's theory still sounds a bit absurd to me. However, let's just keep going down this road for a while and see where it leads. Let's do this, Nick. Then maybe Von Karl will finally throw in the towel. Yeah. So much for that theory. Mr. Wright, do you mind? What is it? You took the time to research our circus, didn't you? Well, yes, I did. There's something making you think that I didn't? If you did, then maybe you'll understand why I think you're off track. Why is that? Motive. This witness feels an incredible debt of gratitude toward the Ringmaster. Anyone with any relation to the circus is well aware of this. Thus, there's absolutely no way someone like this would kill the Ringmaster. Your Honor, I'd like you to hear Acro's story. Learn about his relationship with the Ringmaster and his life up until now. What do we do? There's no doubting that Acro deeply respected the Ringmaster. Acro's motive. It seems this case isn't over yet. Very well, however, I feel this is a good place to take a break. I will listen to the rest of Mr. Dingling's testimony after recess. This court will now take a 10-minute recess. Damn, recess time. But there's not much left from what I remember. Whatever. We're getting to it. We're getting near the end. And we'll finish this next time. We'll really finish this next time. Oh my goodness. Getting to the end of this case after it's been so long since I recorded. Oh, it feels so good. See you guys then.